Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next level. I'm JVL here with my best friend, Tim Miller, and a very good acquaintance, Sonny Bunch, sitting in for Sarah Longwell, both of the Bulwark. Before we get started, go hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button, give us the 5 stars, do all the things, and don't forget to come to thebulwark.com and sign up for Charlie Sykes' Morning Shots newsletter and all his podcast, all of the things. We give away all of these things for free. And you should come and partake of them. Boys,
really
how are we, Tim? You look very, very sun-kissed.
I'm tan, a little red, but I'm Lebanese. I don't know if you know that. Partially Lebanese,
I did not know that.
So my red will pivot to tan. I also think this lighting in my child's bedroom might be giving me a little more rosacea than when I look at myself in the mirror. A lot of tan, a little red.
The contrast between you and Sonny, who is like Nosferatu, is pretty stark.
I live in a cave. I do not set foot outside unless I absolutely have to. I park as close to buildings as I can so I can sprint from my car to the cover of shade.
Smart. Yeah. I liked how you upgraded Sonny. I call him my friend me when you're out of the next level and he's in, and you give him friendly acquaintance, which I think is nice.
Well, I mean, the joke here, of course, is that I've been IRL friends with Sonny since he was in high school. So.
I introduced you and Sarah, I think. Yes. I literally introduced you and Sarah.
This is
yet
true.
I've been supplanted.
That must hurt.
I've known Sonny since he was in his teens.
JVL, I was up until last evening. I was so excited to see you in person this week. I was going to maybe see you in San Francisco. We're going to see each other in Los Angeles for the live show. If you haven't signed up for the live show in Los Angeles, not too late, Thursday night. See you in Seattle Saturday. And then last night I had a dream. And I got to tell you, I don't get anxious about public performance. It's not my thing. Even as a little kid, I was a showboat. I know this is going to be a big surprise to the listeners. So
can't believe it.
I know this is not a fear that I have.
What?
And yet, last night in my subconscious, during my dreams, we were in Seattle at the Seattle event. The venue was very big, and we went to go out there on stage. And you and me and Sarah, and you took 2 steps and then just face planted, just a full face plant because you were on so much Xanax that you had passed out, and Sarah panicked about having to deal with you, and I panicked about how to make the show still good. And then I went kind of like on an adventure movie through Seattle trying to find Dan Savage, and I couldn't find him. And the whole time you were just passed out in the Klonopin hole, unable to do anything. Yeah, so anyway, I now I'm a little bit nervous for the first time about the live performance, but hopefully you'll be able to stay upright.
It's going to be great. It's going to be so great. I'm very excited. I have been told. So my little bottle of Xanax has a litany of things things you should do, some do's and don'ts on it. And next to the little martini glass is a wink. So I think that means they encourage you to drink while taking the Xanax.
I don't think that's right.
Of that.
I don't think that's right.
This is Lucille Booth told me this. Yeah,
you just mix them. You put them in the bottle.
You drop it into the martini with the wink.
Yeah, it's like a Xanax stuffed olives. That's what you want.
Yeah.
All right. So listen, we gotta start with the most important thing, which is facing the Republic right now, which is the war on gas stoves. I'll just set the table. I have a lot of thoughts. A Democratic appointee to the Consumer Product Safety Commission was giving an interview to Bloomberg News, and he sort of said in an offhand way, "Yeah, we may have to look at doing something with gas stoves." And the entire right-wing entertainment complex lost their minds. And then the entire actual
is that exactly branch, right? After he said that, weren't there also some libs who gave him an attaboy as well?
Maybe there were libs on Twitter. I mean, look, I'm sure there was a lib somewhere who
I think there might have even been an elected official or two who gave him an attaboy.
So
this I'm being gaslit right now on this show that I am being asked
gaslit,
to co-host,
so to speak.
I am being gas stoved right now. I am gas
pilled.
This whole week I've been the flames on the side of my face lady from Clue, listening to this stuff. But go ahead, JVL, keep going.
So the precipitating event of this is a peer-reviewed study, one study, saying that the ventilation from gas stoves can be a contributor in 12% of childhood asthma cases. And so everybody lost their minds. And the 44 Republicans in the House, the new House majority, went and introduced I want to make sure I get this right, Guard America's Stoves Act. Get it?
Gassa. Gassa.
And
I think it would
Ron
have been better if they had
DeSantis,
like an UP at the end. Guard America's Stoves under pressure.
Gas
up. You know, just step
Gas
it up a little bit.
Ron DeSantis rushed out to unfurl his posters with a "Don't Tread on Stoves," the Gaston flag.
Gaston flag.
I would like to just set the table here. I myself am an electric stove owner. I have never, as an adult, lived in a house with a gas stove. I've always wanted to, because gas stoves are, for the people who enjoy cooking, the best way to cook, I guess. But once you have children, who could possibly enjoy cooking? Because every mealtime is a war anyway, and they hate everything you serve them. You might as well just use
45 minutes
electric.
of bliss while I'm there on the stove. It's great.
Oh, it's the best. I would just like to say this.
Breathing the fumes.
Gas
your 12%
stoves
chance of
comprise one-third of American stove usage. These stoves are predominantly in coastal states, where the elites are. For instance, in Florida, the percentage of people who use electric stoves is 92%. 92% of Floridians are using electric stoves. So what this seems to me is like a blue state thing that conservatives have now talked themselves into, because, some lib somewhere said it, and then some other lib on Twitter was like, I'm in favor of it, have talked themselves into believing that gas stoves are the most important right-wing cause ever. And that's fine if they want to do that. That's great. I personally would just like the Consumer Product Safety Commission to come out and talk about how important seatbelts are. And if we could do that, so that maybe the conservative infotainment complex could be anti-seatbelt, and that could become a cause celeb for them, that would be great too.
That was a cause celeb, probably.
Yeah, I think
right,
that's
it was in the 1970s, 100%.
I think it is still like kind of on the back burner. Like, we're going to get seatbelt laws repealed.
So this is again, most of the gas stoves are being used by libs in their wealthy coastal enclaves for their Epicurean cookies. Yeah. Real Americans use electric stoves, I'm sorry to say, especially the real Americans in the heartland. And Republicans have talked themselves into thinking that this is now, I guess this has replaced the caravans and replaced CRT. And we have this rolling thing of the most important crises facing America.
The current
Fox has
this
24
is now
hours
the new
of
most
content they got to fill,
Yeah.
So
yeah. So
Sonny,
please,
could you
Sonny,
try to
as
push
our
back?
guest.
Right. So now that JVL has
push
done
back.
just totally gaslighting me. All right, so here is what actually happened. What has actually happened is, for the last 4 or 5 years, every 2 or 3, 4 months, you'll get a story in the newspapers about how gas stoves and gas appliances in general are really bad. We need to get rid of natural gas. It's bad for the environment. It's bad for your health. Every 3 or 4 months, again, get rid of your gas stoves. Get rid of your gas heaters, etc. Municipalities have banned new installation of gas lines in buildings in New York City, right? LA, San Francisco, same thing. They're banning the installation of gas lines. The New York governor suggested, maybe we should actually just ban the sale of gas stoves altogether. We should ban them. We should, if your gas stove breaks, you should have to buy an induction.
Now, is that a come and get it situation? Will they be?
They're going to come to your house.
Will be coming to their house to rip out the existing
house
stoves?
Not yet, but we're getting there. So that is the background to all of this. That's the background to all of this.
Brief pause, Sonny. Brief pause.
Yeah.
As somebody who's recently remodeled a kitchen, where are you on induction stoves? Because I think they look pretty awesome.
I've owned, or I rented a place with an electric stove. I rented a place with a glass top induction style stove that was frankly closer to electric than induction, but I didn't like it for a lot of reasons. It's super messy. I moved in. I've told this on the story on one of my other podcasts, but I moved into a house where like the person who lived here was a professional chef or something, and has remodeled the kitchen with like a 6-burner. Not quite Viking range. It's like the next step down from that. It's like one step below Viking. With like a built-in Sub-Zero freezer. I've got the double oven. So like it's actually very pleasurable for me to cook now because I have all the tools. I got all the tools that I need to make gourmet.
Governor Abbott is going to protect your stove. Don't worry.
The menu style meals. So, but all right. So so like there's a whole background here. Years and years of studies and stories in municipalities saying we need to get rid of gas stoves. We need to ban them. We need to get them out of houses. It's not it's not good. We need to get rid of natural gas. Natural gas is bad. We need to And then when the government official says, yeah, maybe we need to look at banning the gas stoves, and Democrats such as our AOC is out there saying, yeah, we got to ban the gas stove. She says, like, with her gas stove in the background, all of a sudden it turns into Republicans pounce. Now, we can talk about, the semiotics of this and whatever, but like the story all of a sudden becomes crazy Republicans are angry that anyone would suggest that we need to ban gas stoves. It's insane. The conservatives did not go out there and pick a culture war fight about this. I am sorry. That is not at all what happened. What has happened is that there has been a steady drumbeat of left-wing progressive activists saying for years we need to get rid of gas stoves. Maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. Maybe we do need to get rid of gas stoves. I don't know. Maybe there's a magic
shut these
bullet.
Gas stoves down until we can figure out what the hell is going on with them.
Maybe there's a magic bullet study that's going to come down the pike and it says everybody who has a gas stove in their house gets dementia at age 56 and we all got to get rid of them. All right, okay, fine. Maybe that's the case. But do not lie to me and say that these things have not been being discussed and then say, "Oh, Republicans are just making this all up." That's what drove people on the right crazy. If you want to talk about
I
actually,
will say,
which
the
people
very
on the
first
right.
time I have ever heard this before, like any sort of,
I hear it.
People was
so
literally
I'm-
you talking 30 seconds ago. I
I'm
read
plugged
the
in-
newspapers. I've
So
never seen any of this.
I'm plugged into this very, very tightly because I wrote a piece in the Washington Post
Are you in the
4 years
pocket
ago
of big
that had
gas?
what's that?
Are you in the pocket of big gas?
I am now. Now that I live in Texas, all of my stuff is gas powered. If they take gas out, I'm screwed. I don't know how to power things with plugs and electrical lines. That doesn't make any sense to me. But I actually am very plugged into this. Because I wrote a piece for the Washington Post 4 years ago that had the headline "Environmentalists make great movie villains because they want to make your real life worse." So anytime a story like this happens, where an environmentalist group wants to pull something away, take something away, ban something, I get 50 tweets about it. 100 people are like, look, and more proof. And I'm telling you, I've been seeing this gas stove thing for like 3 or 4 years now. People have been trying to get rid of them. So again, it is not like, and then as Tim says, it's not just this Trumpka. Richard Trumka was saying, oh, we got to maybe get rid of them. Then immediately, like a flip switch that was like, well, if you don't want to get rid of them, then you're a terrible person. And you have AOC out there saying, well, it's bad for your kids.
I'd like
you got to get rid of it.
Quote
You got to, why would anybody want gas anyway? You've got induction stoves and they're better. And you're just a Luddite who wants to cook with fire instead of using the power of magnets. Magnets, baby. That's how, and like, whatever, it's fine. Maybe induction stoves are better. I didn't really like the induction stove I had, but it was an old one. Maybe these new ones with the magnet power it's amazing and it's great.
We need Tesla branded induction stoves to make this culture war complete.
See, that would actually be funny if Tesla bought up all the induction companies in the country.
I guess my question though is, Sonny, I hear your point about how whatever Republicans get mad over the Republicans pounced thing, but that's really what you're talking about is like the 8 closet normal Republicans that you follow on Twitter, right? Like that's who you're really talking about. Like they get mad about the pouncing, right? Like the pure uncut MAGA media that the actual Republican voters listen to, they were performatively mad about the stoves, not about the pouncing.
Well, maybe. I mean, and look, and maybe JVL is right that these people are all mad about something that they don't own anyway and would never put into their house. Like I believe and appreciate all that. And it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to have the Republicans out there with the Gas Stove Act and the Gadsden flag. Like this is all childish, embarrassing nonsense.
Yeah.
But like again, the impetus of all this was not Republicans just deciding. They didn't wake up one day and were like, you know what, gas stoves are our thing now.
Right. Though
They didn't wake up and say, gas stoves, that's what we're going to go to war over today.
Well, they kind of did. The
Yeah,
Fox
it's not.
producers,
It's just
the
not.
Fox
It's
producers
not at all
kinda
what
did.
happened.
The Fox producers kind of did. I mean, they used it as an impetus, for okay, well, here's going to be our thing this week. I'm not saying it just started that day, but yeah, they were like, okay, well, here's some grist for the mill. I guess my question is, and this is Cuck Tim coming into play here, but it's kind of like, so if California, which has 70% gas stove usage, which might be a problem actually. I don't mean in the
if we tell
the way of childhood asthma, but in the
Tim,
sense
if we
of
tell the conservatives that most of the gas stove users are actually California libs, are they going to want to get rid of the gas stoves?
maybe. So maybe they went about this in the wrong way from a strategic standpoint.
Right.
Maybe they should have turned gas stoves into an elite phenomenon, that only the Davos set was using, and that might have been more useful than what the Biden administration did. I could appreciate that strategic critique, but. So, like, let's say the Gav, who needs something to do next week, decides that he's going to ban gas stoves in new builds, and that all the new builds in California will have electric stoves, just like all the stoves are in like lots of the country. Who cares? Like, why should anybody care about that? Why should I can't imagine a reason why someone would become upset that a blue state governor would want to create regulations in their state, right? Like, what is the real world harm that is being done to
the goal here is not to ban it in California and New York. It's to ban it everywhere. It's to phase out natural gas in general, which is a foolish thing in a country that relies mostly on coal for power anyway. Or it relies too much on coal for power. Look, it's one thing if all of these new electric. See the
China.
This is like the first time I've been on the idiot conservative side in so long. I love it.
I love it. Just do it. Own it. Just embrace it.
It's really energizing for me because I finally get to return home and be a
this is like
right
a Center
wing
for
reactionary.
Consumer Freedom type.
I get to be a real reactionary on this. And like, look, it'd be one thing again if these stoves were being replaced by electric stoves that run on nuclear power. You put 100 nuclear power plants in, replace all the coal, and then natural gas suddenly becomes much worse for the environment. Fine. As it is right now, natural gas not worse for the environment.
Stoves.
Well, but in California,
stove was nuclear
but
powered.
in California, that's trying to move to zero carbon stuff. Like, California's not using coal, to power the electric grid in a meaningful way, right? Like in California, moving from natural gas away to this because the electrical grid, there's going to be mandate. So this might be a fine critique of California if you're looking forward to it. It's like they have all these mandates on their electric grid. It's solar and it's going to cost people more money on their electric bills. That's a meaningful critique, but it's not like California's using fucking coal in their electric grid. So California decides that we got too much natural gas in home usage.
Tim, let me switch sides here for a moment to help to take Sonny's point for a moment. First of all, it seems to me that in this specific case, it is not an environmentalist thing, but is a health
No, it is. No, it's both. No, it's both.
Both?
Trust me.
Okay.
I have several friends in the environmentalist community, and so like Sonny, I was ahead of you on this, and I got a big briefing on gas stoves from one of my venture fund green lib pals who is trying to go about it in the free market way, which you love.
What is yours
coming up to household items that are more electric funded, so that it's green in addition to the 12% childhood asthma.
Answer the question, Timothy. What kind of stove do you have?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. I was just focused on my green capitalism. I'm big in greenwashing. I have a gas stove because I live in California. Yeah, we have a gas stove, and I got to tell you, I'm ready to make the move. So this whole controversy has backfired on the conservatives. I hear it now, and I'm kind of like, you remember when David Hogg was like, I'm going to wear a mask just to piss off the cons. Like, I'm there. I'm like, we're gonna refurb this kitchen and put in an electric stove just to piss off Sonny and fucking baseball crank and whoever else wants to get mad.
Son of a
I'm
bitch.
gonna
So
spend
here's
$8,000.
where I was
Well, no, but
$8,000.
that's fine though. This is consumer choice. Go
Yeah,
if you
right.
want an induction stove, get an induction stove.
Yeah.
I oppose bans.
Sonny,
I'm
let
opposed
me-
to bans in general. That's
Sonny,
what I
let me
hate.
take your side here. So the history of consumer products and safety standards in America is such that individual states or municipalities making changes to local laws can sometimes cause the entire industry to shift. California, as an enormous market, when California sets like a standard for car emissions, the rest of the rest of the
Right.
audio,
That's good.
right? And so there is.
Bad.
It is good, but I'm saying that
Bad.
you asked why Sonny would care about, what does it matter to him
Right.
if California changes? And the answer is that maybe, right? In fact, the whole reason we have, I wrote a piece about this years ago, dishwasher, we reformulated dishwasher detergents a long time ago, and that changed dishwasher design. It was all because of the town of Tacoma, Washington.
But
Anyway,
this is
unimportant.
But this is
but
okay.
that's
I
why.
want to end this,
there
but
are-
again, this
why
goes to
dishwasher
consumer
detergents
choice.
suck
You
now.
just like if you want to buy a house that has lead pipes in it, you can do that. Just go out there and you can find a house that was built before 1972 or whatever. And if you,
But
if
you're
you
not
just,
allowed
if you
to hire
just
somebody to
need
put
that
lead
gas
pipes in.
stove,
But
there's going to be
That's
lots
the
of
problem.
lead pipe.
If I
It's
want
not-
lead
this-
pipes,
this-
I can't find a plumber who will put lead pipes in now,
I know.
Timothy. And
This
that
isn't,
choice
this
the
isn't
market
lead
will-
pipes. It's
you
not
can-
asbestos. It's a nonsense study from an environmentalist group that's about carbon neutral,
great. This is
whatever.
what
And
this is
they're
what I'm
like,
saying.
12%
Sonny, let me
of
tell you.
childhood asthma. Not 12% of children. 12% of all childhood asthma cases. It's like 5 kids.
Sonny, there's going to be so much property in Bakersfield and Fresno that if you want to keep that gas stove, even after the ban is in place, you won't even know where to you won't even know what to
I can't
choose.
afford to live in California. Have you seen the tax rates out there? You paid more in taxes on the 5 minutes that we've been on this call than I pay a whole year in Texas.
I am
worth every
excited
penny.
that 6 months from now, we are going to get a study that shows that when you do party ID breakdown of gas stove ownership, it's like 80% of gas stove owners are registered Ds, and that, and all of a sudden then the politics of this will flip. And it'll be fantastic. All right. This actually dovetails nicely because I wanted to talk a little bit about Twitter.com, one of your favorite websites, both of you gentlemen.
Yeah,
And Twitter was a big help in airing out this very important issue that previously had been under-discussed, perhaps, in America. Certainly it passed me by. Maybe it's because I hadn't been on Twitter.com that I did not notice that for the last 4 or 5 years, this was a hot topic. Because Twitter is, as you said to us in the green room before this, Sonny, Twitter is a machine designed to help people think through their positions, right?
Wait, hold on. Let me. The actual phrase I used was. Let me pull it up here. Twitter is. Wait, hold on.
I believe you said hate box.
Yes, Twitter is social media companies thrive as hate boxes, and that's what Twitter is. Twitter is a hate box. It's a place where you go to find things you hate and get your blood pressure up.
So can
I
you
love
explain to the people where this insight of yours came from? Because it was from a recommendation, right? It was this.
Yeah. So I mean, one thing that people have been complaining about on Twitter since Elon's takeover is the pushback towards the algorithmic feed. Now, this is a thing that actually predates Elon. They've been trying to get folks to move to the algorithmic feed for years now. But Elon Twitter has made a change that brings it very much right to the front of your home screen on Twitter, and if you're it's switching you back and forth without letting you know. So like sometimes you'll log onto your phone and you'll look at Twitter and you'll see a whole bunch of tweets from people you don't know that say they're for you, and it's like Mike Cernovich saying like we need to put all the doctors who gave out the shots in prison or whatever.
Did you see Mike Cernovich's pro Caligula tweet recently?
I did
Loved
see
that.
that.
What
showed
did
up
he
in my
say?
For
That was
You
for me.
page.
That was for me. That
Tell
was
me about
for
it,
you.
Timothy.
Yeah, no, it was just he just sent a thing. It was about George Santos. It was
Mhm.
about how Caligula sent his horse to the Roman Senate and how that was Caligula's way of saying that he does not care about the mores of the elites in Roman times, and George Santos, our horse,
That
and
is
it's
what
our
the good people of Long Island were doing.
yeah, it is our
Yes.
signal that to the elites that we don't give a fuck is a big middle finger, and so it
Yeah.
was. It was a rare kind of pro take Caligula take. You don't usually hear people being like I was reading a couple stories about Caligula, and I think we should model our system after his leadership style. You don't hear that very often, and so that's why Twitter's valuable. That's why it's nice to get that Cernovich right into my For You page. Sorry,
Yeah.
Sonny, continue.
Right. So, but this is so that's the sort of thing that gets served up to people as For You, and as friend of the site, friend of the show, Ben Dreyfuss noted when getting one such tweet recently. He was like, the idea that this is for me is the most insulting thing I can imagine. And he tweets out a screenshot of it, and he does a whole thread. And you know what he's doing? He's driving engagement. He is actually proving the algorithm right. He is showing the algorithm that these are the things I interact with, and so I should keep getting more of them, frankly, because I can't get enough of this hateful content. I can't get enough of hating.
Elon says this directly today. Did you see this? Elon said,
No, I didn't.
Our chief twit. Here we go. Here's a tweet from our chief twit a couple hours ago.
Tweet and shift.
Trashing accounts that you hate will cause our algorithm to show you more of those accounts, as it is keying off your interactions. Basically saying, if you love trashing that account, then you will probably also love trashing this account. Not actually wrong. LOL. Period. Elon Musk.
And that is the absolute core fundamental principle of social media in general. If you see a thing
that is about
that
connecting
you hate,
the world and loving and holding hands with people from different cultures.
Hate drives more passion and more energy than anything else. Just look at me on gas stoves this week, finding people to hate for trying to take away my delightful 6-burner range. I don't want it.
No one's trying to take it away.
I don't want that in my
again.
feed, and yet yes.
So, Sonny, is that true though for all social media or just Twitter? Because like Instagram doesn't seem to function that way. Neither Snap nor TikTok seem to function that way. Facebook seems to function by putting you into silos so that you never encounter somebody who you dislike. The Facebook is all about the groups, right? You get into a group with, 33,000, true conservatives for MAGA or something, and that's where
I think
you can
no. I think you're basically right. I mean, Instagram is keyed on is more specifically keyed to things you love, things that you like, because it's visual. I mean, people like it. It's the difference between a visual social media network and a literary social media network. It's easier to read and write about hateful things than it is to see, like, if I'm disgusted by, I don't know, like dogs in dresses. If I find that offensive to my eyes, I'm not going to look at more posts like that on Instagram, right? I just won't. But if I find them delightful,
you're going to look
I'm
at
going to
things
get a
that
whole
you're
bunch
into,
of those
like
in my reels.
cows and skirts.
Cows,
love a cow in a skirt.
If I'm into dolphins wearing tiaras, that's what I'm going to get lots and lots of videos of.
Right.
Not that I'm speaking from experience.
Right.
But on Twitter it's different. I think on Twitter the difference between, again, like, you go to Twitter to fire off snappy bon mots and to dunk on people and quote tweets and to get likes as a result and to get retweets. Facebook used to be more like this. Facebook used to be much more like this, where there was more people would like show up in comment sections and get into big fights with people, and they have changed their algorithm to do what you say, JBL, to kind of reinforce likes, to just be like, here's the things that you like, and we're gonna give you 100 times more of that, which has its own negative consequences in a lot of ways.
What's funny is that the Twitter thing which you describe is something which Twitter saw for a very long time as a big weakness of the platform. And at Jack Dorsey, this was a thing he talked about often, about like getting rid of the retweet button, or possibly getting rid of the heart like button, because he thought that those things were encouraging the sort of, as you say, the hate boxy behaviors. I don't know, man. I mean, I look at it again. It seems like somebody wrote a really good piece about this 3 or 4 years back, that the problems with Twitter are, people say like, oh, it's a human problem, but it's not really. It's a design problem, in that the site is designed to exacerbate the human problems, that there are ways, in fact, to design
Yeah.
it to mitigate those problems. It's just that Twitter, the company, isn't interested in that.
And Elon is specifically saying that he wants that now with the
Yeah.
more for you page, with that kind of design. You know, like one example, there'd be an easy, if you wanted to stop the dunking and use Twitter as more of a discovery platform, like maybe you could imagine it as more like Google Reader, right? Everybody loved Google
Right.
Reader, you know, where it's like, I'm discovering writing, I'm discovering people I like. Maybe this is a short micro version of Google Reader. We just ban quote tweets.
Yeah.
Right.
Done. You just ban quote tweets, and that way you don't get the people dunking on people, and you keep retweets, so your friends could share things that you think your friends might want to see, articles or funny comments or whatever, and that would be a very simple way to just change the incentives of the platform away from this kind of hate machine that Sonny brings up, and yet they're going the other way.
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting though, because Twitter used to not have a retweet button. You have to used to do manual retweets, right? Remember, this is where RT
Dude, I'm an OG,
name
baby.
thing. Yeah. So like they changed these things, and I think having an automatic retweet button is good. Having an automatic quote tweet button, having instead of having to do a manual quote tweet, so to speak, has been the worst thing for the site. It's been the worst thing the site has ever done, because even adding that one extra step of like, you're gonna have to go one level further before you can say LOL ugly pig to, you know, somebody who says something you don't like on Twitter, it like would reduce the amount of hate by like 80%, I think.
I liked our friend Walter Olson, contributor to the Bulwark, did this tweet today or yesterday. Twitter's "You Might Like" feature, which is his For You page, is like a high chair with a parent proffering me forkfuls of things I've already rejected 100 times. It's
Totally.
like, here comes the airplane. Here's more Cernovich. It's like, you don't think I've seen Mike Cernovich and already decided I don't want to follow him? Like, I know what Mike Cernovich is offering. I've chosen to not take it, okay? And yet they continue
There's
wanting
more
to...
Pizzagate Jack.
Yeah,
Take
it
some of that.
just
Take
doesn't
some more.
work. It's not the same as TikTok. The TikTok's For You page is its masterpiece, and you know, and the undoing of society all in one. Like, it's beautiful, right? But that it's different, and the nature of the video platform and the nature of what they're trying to serve you is different. This is not going to work. But the whole thing, it's related. It's just worth saying that, like, I will be the last man standing on Twitter. I don't care. I know that a lot of people who really hate Elon want me to leave. I know people who care about my mental health, like JVL, want me to leave. I do not care. You know, I'm never leaving, and I will be the last person there. But it is fun. It is objectively worse and worse every day now. And I know Sonny used like a tweet deck or something that keeps you from doing it.
We were discussing this before the show as well. I actually haven't noticed any difference to my to like 90% of my Twitter experience when I'm not looking on my phone and when I'm not looking at the desktop version, because I use TweetDeck.
Sonny, doesn't everybody use TweetDeck? I was shocked to learn that there are people in the world who
apparently
don't.
nobody uses it. Apparently nobody uses it, because I keep seeing complaints about algorithmic feeds or whatever, and that just doesn't exist on TweetDeck.
Yeah.
TweetDeck is just
I used to use TweetDeck, and then I quit it because I didn't want to have. It was like a personal thing. Like when I was on my computer, I wanted to have to go to the browser because my computer was more about, you know, my time for writing or researching or whatever. And my phone was my Twitter habit, right? Yeah. So that's why. So maybe I need to go back to TweetDeck for this reason. But the ads, I just have to tell you, the ads are so bad now, and it's all like far right claptrap. That is not just BS. Maybe that's what they are serving me because I follow some of these people. But like
hate box.
Yeah, it's hate box. Bari Weiss, you'll like this, JVL. The ad that I cannot get rid of is this ad attacking Bari Weiss as like a defender of canceling Palestinians or something, and it has like 10 million views on it now, and I can't get rid of it. It's like the writer of the Twitter files is getting personally attacked in an ad, and I can't get away from it. And then for you page is just a fucking hellscape of all the worst people, and now it's on the Twitter app on the phone. It sends you there first. It's like every time you open up the app, you've got to move over to the following feed, and it's just. And meanwhile, the Tesla stock is like having a epic historic collapse, like at the same time that Elon is like making Twitter worse. I mean, it really, for a guy who was on top of the world, I mean, it's really, I'm trying to at least appreciate the shot. While my beloved Twitter is getting ruined, I'm appreciating the Schadenfreude of it. I mean, And he must
JBL
have lost like $100 billion this year. I mean, how much?
JBL, you have to be excited about this, right? Because you've always thought Tesla was a nonsense stock.
So I have hated Elon Musk for like a decade, and I hated
Always
him originally
first on the hate.
because I mean yes, because this guy was getting shoveled taxpayer dollars for his super luxury electric sports cars, and it drove me insane. The idea that your tax dollars were going to give a rebate to Matt Damon when he bought a sports car that went 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. Fuck that. Right. Absolutely absurd. Anyway, so I hated him with that. I hated him because he was always over.
This is the other side of the horseshoe. This was the other side of the horseshoe, the squishy part of the horseshoe, where your conservative impulses have now overlapped with your cultural impulses.
Right. I mean, he would go out and say stuff like, "Yeah, we're going to take Tesla private. I've got the financing in place," and then doesn't do it, and it's just market manipulation. And like the SEC comes in and beats him up, and his response is, "F you, go ahead, make me." You know, like this is not how the rule of law worked. And then he became a right-wing darling, and I hate him now too. It is great to watch him be undone, but it's even better for people to finally understand that the meritocracy is not like an ironclad thing. It's more like a set of guidelines. You know, like Elon Musk didn't make all this money because he was the smartest guy with the best ideas. He made a lot of the money because the market is weird. And sometimes when you strike it rich early and you get a big chip stack, it's pretty easy to push people around on the board and make your chip stack go bigger. I mean, it's, you know, I don't know. If you look at forget the Twitter files, when you look at the Musk texts, which came out over the course of discovering the lawsuit, that is where you start to look and say, does this seem like the smartest guy on the planet? Or does he just sound like another like Twitter rando? And the answer is he sounds like another Twitter rando.
There was an enjoyable exchange. So I do, in appreciating other people's pain throughout all this, David Sachs is like the MAGA contrarian venture capitalist guy out here. I hate. And there's an article in The Verge today. Our friend Casey Newton, who writes Platformer, was doing this. And then he has this anecdote from when Elon buys Twitter and he goes to meet with the team, and they're discussing the tech stack with him. And the source is like, all of his questions are stupid and like aren't relevant to like the core questions about the tech stack. But yet he's lecturing us about how in the 90s he was on this and that. And he's like, David Sachs walks in to participate in the meeting. And they go, Elon looks at him and he's like, sorry, this is too technical of a meeting for you. And David has to like bow his head and leave. And I'm just like, I love that. I love that he's humiliating these other VC bros who just want to kind of swim in his wake. That I do get some enjoyment out of that. It's kind of like when Trump would humiliate someone. You're like, you hate to give Trump credit, but it's nice to see Chris
there's
Christie.
The plane. Get out of here.
Yeah, I'm enjoying Chris Christie and David Sachs getting humiliated, even if I don't really like the person doing the humiliating.
So here's the truth about Elon Musk, which is that he is closer to Russ Hanneman than he is to the Hooli guy, right, from Silicon Valley.
Who was Russ Hanneman?
Right? Russ Hanneman, Trace Thomas, the billionaire. I want a car with
Silicon
billionaire.
Valley. You've not watched the show Silicon Valley?
Yeah, it's been a while. I haven't watched it in a lot. When I moved out here, I couldn't watch it anymore. It was too close to home.
I bet.
So I haven't watched it for like 5 years. But okay,
it's why I didn't do Veep. Yeah, and he's, I forget the character who's the head of Hooli, Gavin Belsom.
Yeah, Gavin Belsom.
Gavin Belsom is ridiculous, but of course Gavin Belsom was once upon a time like a genius dev and engineer.
Right.
Russ Hanneman is just like a guy who runs around with his giant chip stack. I love this when there's a great moment where he says to Richard, I had $1.2 billion by the time I was 25. You know how much I have now? 1.4 billion. And all of a sudden Richard is doing the math in his head and realizing that, wait a minute, if he'd put this in a savings account, he would have had a higher return. Anyway. Okay. Last bit, I guess the most important bit, I would like to talk about the new College of Florida. Is that how it's pronounced? Yes. Where Governor Ron DeSantis has appointed a huge slate to the Board of Trustees to remake it in the image of Hillsdale College, a Christian conservative school. from
Hillsdale or
Michigan.
Trump?
Hillsdale
Oh,
is
Hillsdale.
the explicit model for it, including Chris Rufo of the Manhattan Institute, who is, to my mind, the most important intellectual in the Republican Party right now. And what do you guys think of it? I mean, Kathy Young had a fantastic piece on the site, which
Fantastic.
everybody who's listening to this should go and read. Maybe we'll put it in the description or in the comments or something down below. Go to thebulwark.com for more pieces like that from Kathy Young. It's pretty bad, I think. And Kathy comes from a very anti-woke place and a big, like, libertarian type, gotta shut down the craziness on college campuses. And she came away from this like, dude, this is Orbanism. This is a Viktor Orban style kind of thing. Sonny, do you still feel up enough to be able to defend the conservative stuff here, or are you off the train now?
No, this is one of these things where it's what is most revealing about it is just how small potatoes, penny ante bullshit it is. So I am not quite as worked up about it as you are, JVL, because when you say to somebody, I want to make this other college the Hillsdale of something, everyone's going to look at you and say, what? What's a Hillsdale?
Exactly.
It's not like taking over Yale or Harvard, right? It is making another niche, whatever. And the other thing that was interesting from Kathy's piece was who was the not Rufo
Mark Bauerlein.
Mark
First
Bauerlein.
Things, the Catholic Nationalism magazine.
Yeah, so Mark Bauerlein said in an interview somewhere, not to Kathy, I can't imagine he would ever speak to Kathy, but he said, look, we really can't change that much. It's already a classical liberal arts education. We're tinkering around the edges, but like the core curriculum is basically there. And at that point, it's like, well, what's the point of this? And the point of it, JBL, is the point you made in your newsletter today, which is that this is not.
It's nice to have Sonny on instead of Sarah. He's actually read the material. Sorry, Sarah.
But you're in your newsletter today. You made the point, which I think was totally spot on, that this is only. Well, this isn't what you said. This is me paraphrasing. It's only marginally about the actual school itself. What is key here is Ron DeSantis shoring up various elements of the outsider GOP caucus, right? So you've got Rufo, right, which shores up Manhattan Institute, which is arguably the most important think tank in the right-wing world right now. You've got a Claremont guy and a First Things guy, right? And Kessler is the Claremont guy. Bauerlein's the First Things guy. So he's shoring up the outsider position. He's giving them jobs. He's becoming a patron for these sorts of people, which then kind of limits their ability to support Trump going forward. And it does the whole red meat to the base thing. He's like, look, as governor of Florida, I went to a tiny liberal arts school and I got rid of DEI and I changed it to a merit system. And like, okay, fine. This is not going to actually change anything in higher education, but it does allow him to go out there and say, within the bounds of power that I had as a state official, I did this, this, and this. And that's the other important thing here, is that it's just a signal to folks who want to back him in the primary versus Donald Trump.
Yeah, I agree with that as a political matter strategically. The interesting thing for me out of all this, and the fact that they go to Rufo, his First Things guy, is just like how shallow the pool of MAGA intelligentsia is, or MAGA policy people that you could turn to. I mean,
Seb Gorka was busy.
Right, like you could imagine a time. I mean, honestly, like Sonny or JVL, you kept up the grift, and just moved on over to the Examiner and started writing about this. I mean, you could be a president of a university. Yeah, you could be a university president right now. Like, I mean, honestly, and so like that to me is telling, right? Like there have always been, in the conservative world, right? There's always been this like kind of push and pull between, okay, do we need to infiltrate, quote unquote, the existing institutions and make sure there are conservative minds there, or should we start our own institutions, right? And like and particularly in academia, that's a question. But, and you just look at the difference between what happened in like Crystal's generation in the Ivies, and you get like Harvey Mansfield and like these very like these serious scholars, like conservative scholars that go into universities and say, so students get exposed to this sort of thing, and like versus what's now is like Ron DeSantis.
Adrian Vermeule is now the serious conservative intellectual at an elite college.
Ron DeSantis doesn't have anybody to turn to, and he's the whole world is his oyster. As you would think, right? Like he's a leading candidate to be the president. He wants to put you into this. You might be the Secretary of Education after this. If you take a job on the trustees of this new school in Florida, and he like looks around and surveys the university, and it's like. He picks out Rufo, who's like a PR hack. It would be like Jared Polis turning to me and being like, "I'm concerned about the conservative infiltration of some institution in Colorado. Well, let's bring in Miller." And it's like, no, right? I mean, I'm a fucking hack. Like there are people that have given their lives to these sorts of things, to pedagogy, and who know what they're talking about. But the MAGA world just hasn't built that up at all. And Trump so repulsed everyone who might possibly be attracted to this type of thing, that all of them, has just checked out and said, hey, no, I'm not going to be the Ron DeSantis puppet at this university. Right. And so I think that to me, it's most interesting from that perspective, because it gives you a little bit of insight into just like what a DeSantis nominate White House would look like. I mean, like these are the people that he's pulling.
Oh, this would be
these are the people that he'd be pulling from.
I have to say, I find two other things interesting. First is that I think I might be slowly reappraising my view of DeSantis. I had generally been of the idea that he's not he has no charisma. He's bad at retail politics. On the other hand, he is very shrewd about fight picking. And fight picking is, 95% of Republican politics these days. Mm-hmm. He's very good at that. The charisma thing is a problem, but Donald Trump never did retail politics, right? I mean, maybe retail politics, that age is over.
By the way, Biden, I don't know. J-Mart had a good article on this today, and I love J-Mart. I agreed with everything in the article with the exception of he kind of gave Biden a little more credit. I thought he was due on the retail side. Like, it's not like Biden... and the Clyburn thing was a relationship thing, which is maybe an issue for Ron DeSantis. That like if
DeSantis doesn't have those,
conceivably,
but he's smart about this
but
stuff.
like the retail part of it wasn't exactly like, or Obama. Yeah. I mean, W wasn't. Like it's kind of hard to remember the last time. Like Clinton, I guess, is the last one.
W was a good retail politician. People forget. Like on the stump or in a room, people loved him.
On the stump, he was good, but yeah.
I mean, DeSantis is.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sonny.
Well, I was going to say DeSantis's problem is that he, like Trump, may not have been a good retail politician, but he was an entertainer. Yeah, right. He could get up there on a stage and command 30,000 people, showing up to come to his dumb rallies, and like that would then be on TV. And he does not have that, which could be a problem for him. But it also if Trump really does stay off Twitter through the election and isn't dominating news coverage every time he utters some dumb thing. I think that path is kind of cleared for DeSantis, isn't it?
I think so. And this is the other point that this firm is beginning to firm up for me is that Trump seems to think that all the people that he bought over the last 5 years are going to stay bought because like they owe him or something. And that's crazy. All I could think about, Sonny, was that scene in The Dark Knight where the Joker goes and he's just burned the mountain of money and the Chechen is there and he says, you tell them that your boys work for me now. The Chechen is indignant. He's like, what do you mean? They belong to me. They would never work for a freak like you. The Joker says, when dogs are hungry, they'll eat anything. And this is, Donald Trump is sitting on a ton of money. He just sold all these stupid NFTs, right? He's got, it's like, I don't know what he took from that. I think it was like 5 million. I'd have to go and redo the math again, but took a lot of money from that. Why isn't he setting up some bogus think tank to throw money at some of his people to make sure that they stay with him, right? Why isn't he keeping his troll army fed?
Right.
And the answer is either because he's lazy or entitled or just tired and can't think to do it. That makes me think that maybe he's weaker than I, for the last 2 years, thought he was.
He's got loser stink on him. He reeks of loser, and that's a real problem. I mean, losing to Biden, here's the problem. It wasn't just losing to Biden. It was losing to Biden and then whining about it all the time, and then having Biden be out there looking not at the top of his game all the time. I think is he just looks weak and has looked weak for the last like 3 years now.
Tim, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that his operation is. I think that he has part of it is he's weak. Part of it is he's lost a step. Part of it is I think he has a nostalgia for the good old days of 2015 and where it's just him and the caddy and Stabby Eyes Lewandowski and Hope on the plane, and they're just like three kids in a dream. I think he has this. So I don't think he feels like he needs to do what you're talking about with creating the nonprofit, but he really does, right? And so I think that it's a huge just mistake, and I think that he's just making a lot of these mistakes now. And it ties into a lot of the mistakes that he was making, honestly, from 16 on, which was this thing happened where everyone told him he had no chance to win. He didn't even think he was going to win. He wins. And then he's like, what the fuck? I'm not going to, you don't. So he already was just this narcissistic monster, right? Who doesn't listen to anybody. Now, after everyone who's smart was wrong and he was right, now he has literally no reason to ever listen to any of these people, right? So there's nobody around him. I mean, Susie Wiles, this woman I know, we can do a longer thing on it sometime, is like the person, Olivia, in Olivia's podcast with Charlie, which was really good. If you haven't listened to Olivia Nosey's podcast with Charlie about what Trump is happening.
Go to thebulwark.com and sign up for Charlie's show.
Yeah, sign up for it. So good. And Olivia is telling Charlie that like when she was interviewing Trump, it's Susie on the call. And God loves Susie. She's a Southern lady. Pat Summerall was her dad. But I mean, I don't want to be ageist or ager or whatever. But this is not somebody who's in touch with the MAGA troll army. Okay, she was John Huntsman's campaign manager in 2012. All right, like so, like this is not the type of. This is a person that he can run over. Right? That there is not. He's just not cultivating that. DeSantis is much more in touch with that world, as evidenced by the fact that he put Chris Rufo on the board of trustees.
Yeah. All right. Tim, I would like to turn the show over to you because it sounds to me like we need to have some talk therapy here, and you've just gone through something.
Well, no, I don't think it's therapy. I just wanted to close by letting I know we have some listeners who are, kind of like Bernie bros. And they come to us because it's like, this is as far as like Sonny is as much as I can take. Okay.
All those people just hit the other.
They've already tuned out. So if any of you
they're not listening.
Any of you are left after Sonny's gas stove rant, any of our socialist listeners are left after Sonny's gas stove rant. I got to tell you, I'm recruitable. Okay. I'm recruitable right now because I just spent the weekend in St. Bart's. Are you familiar with St. Bartholomew in the Caribbean? It's San Tropez in the Caribbean. It's a French colony. My best friend, is an extremely successful eye surgeon. He got into med school, unlike JVL, and really top of the class. And he's doing quite well for himself. Sorry, Jonathan. He is, and so he held him and his wife, who's also my very close friend, also very talented in her own right, held their 40th in St. Bart's, which is a vacation spot for the rich and famous. And we saw Emilio Estevez, Kathy Ireland, Steve Forbes was on my little puddle jumper, in the airline. Like, this is the class of people that you're dealing with in St. Bart's. They all speak French. It's just, it's an 11-mile island. It's just all rich people and the people that are serving the rich people. But it's not like some of these other islands where there's a lot of indigenous culture, right? Like the people that are carrying your bags look like they make $90,000 a year and moved from Paris just because they wanted some sun. I mean, it is a next level. And we got on a boat and we're going around. We do a circle of the island on a boat. And I'm looking at all these other boats. And on the one hand, I'm like fucking thrilled that we have been seizing these Russian boats. Okay, so that's one little observation. Like I think one of my proposals is I think we should start seizing these boats, bringing them up to America, and making them like public utilities. And if you want to party on a boat, we're gonna put one of these in Tampa. And you can just sign up. You can just sign up and party on a Russian yacht. And I think that's just one idea I have as part of my wealth redistribution from the Russians. But the other is that some of these guys we could use it. We could probably pay a little more in taxes. That's all I'm saying. I just mean the decadence in St. Bart's, and just when I'm looking around, I'm sure there's some people there that are really up from their bootstraps type of guys and deserve every penny. But boy, are there a lot of what was the hot buzz term about nepo babies? Boy, were there a lot of nepo babies around. And I was speaking with a lot of nepo babies, and
5% more. Where's their incentive to keep inheriting wealth
and partying in St. Bart's? That's a good question.
Yeah.
So
how are they going to afford their induction stoves?
It's a good question.
When you
So
steal their gas
all
stoves.
I'm saying is, I haven't made any deep changes to my political philosophy, but just after spending some time with nepo babies in St. Bart's and looking at the boats, I'm open for recruitment to the Bernie Bros listening to the podcast. That's all I'm saying.
Let me ask: Is this a White Lotus location possibility? Could this
it would be an amazing?
Did you have strong White Lotus vibes?
It would be an amazing White Lotus location. What is absolutely unbelievable. Oh, JV, we talked about this on another podcast that you didn't know. It's a show on HBO. There's 2 seasons. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
it's marvelous and very White Lotus vibes. I was playing the Italian remix, on our little speaker with people and kind of getting them going. And yes, there could be a murder mystery here. There could be people cheating on their wives here. There were definitely some. What was the prostitute character's name in the second White Lotus season? Loved her. She was great. She's my favorite character. It's hard for me to remember. Maurizia. There were definitely some Mauritias hanging around. God love them.
Sebastian says Lucia and Mia.
Thank you. Not even close to Maurizia. It's kind of like Mia and Lucia combined. Thank you, Sebastian. Lucia and Mia. I met some Lucia and Mias at the bar one night. And a lot of context clues and just their lack of interest.
What are your context clues?
Well, I don't want to salt their game, but let's just say that their interest in me, like their whole mood and tone changed once I informed them I was a homosexual. And some of the
changed in which way? For the better, for the worse?
Well, I think that the pitch got a lot softer, and they, we joked a little bit, and then they kind of moved on to other potential people. So it was great though, and I support them. And
should I watch this on the plane? I'm going to be on planes for 90 hours this week.
White Lotus is fantastic. I think so. It definitely is better than Glass Onion, which I did not like. So there we go. So that's it. I'm open. I am open for recruitment, for ways that we can take care of the nepo babies in St. Bart's. But boy, it was lovely. If you are a nepo baby, if you're not one of the Bernie Bro listeners, if you're a nepo baby listener, boy, do I recommend the Rosewood at St. Bart's. Wonderful way to spend that money if you're not going to give it away to poor children.
All right. Sonny, thanks for sitting in for Sarah. Tim, great to see you as always. Please don't give me COVID when we see each other later this week. That would be excellent.
How would I give you COVID?
Actually, we're having dinner tomorrow night. We are having dinner tomorrow night, Tim. Can you believe this? 24 hours from now.
I can't wait.
You and I are sitting down to break bread.
I'm just going to breathe all over you.
It's going to be great. Well, that's okay because I spent the money on real N95 masks, not the Chinese knockoff KN95 masks. And I'm just going to wear 3 of them the entire time.
Well, you might want to wear it. You might want to wear it at dinner with me because I just flew from San Francisco to Miami to San Juan to St. Bart's and back.
You have all the diseases: dengue fever, RSV, foot and mouth, flu, strep throat. Right, you've got all of them.
Thanks for not naming some of the other ones. I appreciate it.
All right, guys, we'll see you next week. And if you're going to be in Los Angeles or in Seattle, come to one of our shows. It'll be great. And even if you're not, go to thebulwark.com, sign up for the newsletters, listen to the podcasts. We do it all for you for free. Bye.